Good Tuesday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about all my cars and trucks and SUVs and dogs and a Willow and the kid and motorcycles, attitudes, views, thoughts, wackiness, addictions. Yeah, this is the Iceman of the Ice Age TV, and hey, thanks for tuning in to watch my channel this morning. I really appreciate all people who do watch my channel and ring in their comments and thoughts on my silliness. And sometimes I'm sure a lot have to hold their breath on really what they want to say. I get all that. And oh wow, what a beautiful, just incredibly beautiful Tuesday morning. We're just getting this October last run, I think, of really nice weather before the rains really set in and the cooler weather and the trees start to change and all that stuff. And wow, I still haven't cut the grass. I don't want to cut the damn grass. I'm so sick of it. The demands. The demands. It's always about the demanding schedule. Anybody here that has a job, do you feel like sometimes you're just overwhelmed with the demands, the schedule, the things you got to do? Oh my goodness gracious, look at me here. Demands. What are my demands? I want more damn vehicles. Yeah, right. Hey, the Ram 3500, this is such a nice truck. This thing is like 83,000 miles. This truck technically is 10 years old. If you go by model year, this is a 2014. And now the 2024 vehicles are starting to hit the lot. So hard to believe that's a 10-year-old truck. Look at it. And it still runs like a relatively new truck. It's just incredible. Let's get the dogs in here because you know what happened? They'll start running around and drive me nuts. I'll have to be yelling at them and telling them I demand that they obey me. Yeah, anybody has a dog, how good is that on the commands? The demanding commands. So demand is the word of the morning. Thought demanding, demand, that's a vague, I shouldn't say it's vague, but it's more broad conversation that could go into many aspects of many different things in our livelihoods and life. But if anything, it's the demands of what the green age is doing to us Ice Age people. Hey, get on in here. Get on up there. And as usual, I just love showing off my toys. That's just who I am because I'm very fortunate to have these vehicles. But there's a lot of demand here and money to have all these toys. I mean, this is very demanding for me to financially make it where I can actually keep this stuff and own it. It's not easy. Very expensive. The Indian Challenger, really a great looking bike. I'm so glad I got it. I got to get the damn battery. I got so sidetracked yesterday. I was so on the mission yesterday to get the battery for this and do other things. Totally sidetracked because of the Harley-Davidson trike, the RG3 trike. And I just can't get over how, if you watch my channel, I totally went sideways yesterday. Had no plans yesterday to drive Richmond, Virginia. Richmond, Virginia is over a 2-hour drive in good traffic from my house. But I had work down in Fredericksburg, Virginia yesterday, and it just was a fluke on how I missed an exit, and I ended up coming back. I just ended up going to Richmond Harley, and even for me, I'm blown away at how they were open. Most of these Harley dealers anymore, especially when change in season comes in, they change their hours. That place is still 7 days a week. Wow. Yeah, so the demand morning, the one thing for sure, I have so much of the demanding vehicle, but I also have so much of the non-demanding vehicle. So let's focus here for a second on how I have these really nice Hellcats, the Dodge Charger Hellcat, the Red Eye package, which is the AKA Demon motor package, built, it's a stronger built motor. Then I have the Gold Rush here, Challenger, and these vehicles are demanding. These are in demand to even the point that people are stealing them. I've got a Road Glide CVO that in some ways I felt would be very demanding, but in other ways I'm starting to question what the heck is going on with Harley. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, about the demands of the Harley product. And so if you walk outside here, I've got a really nice Ford Bronco Raptor, and the demand for that is still very healthy per se. There's just not a gazillion of them out there in the market. So that's a very demanding vehicle. And then you've got the Dodge Challenger wide body Scat Pack package. These are still in good demand. But then we can just take a whole opposite turn here And here I have the Ford F-150 Lightning, and that is not in great demand. I go into the back here, and we've got a Ford Mustang Mach-E GT, and that vehicle is not in great demand. So it's pretty crazy in how I truly have on my lot, my driveway here, the total opposites of what I have invested in money that's pretty safe, and what the others are just totally beyond ridiculous because of the demands of the green agenda that's fooling everybody. But back here on the Harley side, the CVO, in my eyes, I think it's the nicest Harley-Davidson CVO to date, production built. And yesterday when I was in the Harley-Davidson dealership hanging out, trying to do the RG3 deal, which it didn't play out to terms I wanted it to. There's a lot little more things behind the scenes that you just don't know about, but the bottom line is it came down to full circle, give us the Road Glide CVO and you can have a trike. And I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. It's the old architecture now, technology. So I just have no desire to go backwards, and I just love this bike, and I have a lot of money invested in this motorcycle. I just can't justify the trading this for a trike. I can all day long justify trading the CVO 2021 back here for the trike. That's my preference, and I'm still working on that with the Patriot Harley-Davidson on the black trike. So that I would give up, because I just feel like, why do I need two Road Glides? You may be here, yeah, why do you need all these motorcycles? Like, yeah, right. Trying to talk sense into me, or your demands aren't going to go very far, because that's just who I am. So, anyways, the reason I'm kind of focused on the CVO Road Glide demand is this is a vehicle I think that Harley is going to do a refresh, update on all the touring line of Harley. But yesterday at the Harley dealer, really, astute guy, knows his stuff, very young man, but he was telling me he doesn't think that it'll happen in 2024. He thinks it'll be 2025. And I was like, but why? He's like, well, the police edition, first time apparently Harley-Davidson is bringing a police edition Road Glide to the market, versus they usually use electric glide platform. So he's showing me on the Harley-Davidson website the 2024 Police Edition Road Glide is this architecture bike. This front fairing, the handlebars, everything for 2024 is the the old CVO Road Glide. But at the same time, I kind of wonder that, is Harley-Davidson just letting the law enforcement knowing that in 2024 you can buy a new Road Glide package, and they're just showing the old architecture? Or is Harley-Davidson just saying, hey, we're going to use up all the parts for the law enforcement agency for 2024, and we're going to go ahead and do the refresh on the touring models for the new updated architecture of the 2023 CVO right here in front of me? But the guy that works here, he says that Harley-Davidson does not have that manufacturing capability to be able to split off building different types of same platform bikes. He just says they're outdated in compared to the auto manufacturing. So, it should be interesting. But here's the thing. For me, if they don't update the whole touring line to the new CVO platform, then I think in some ways I've got to win. And the reason I say that, I think then that this motorcycle here is going to really even be more sought after, because people realize, so many people I think are thinking what I'm talking about, that Harley-Davidson is going to bring the new touring model. The demand will create Harley-Davidson to compete against the Indian brand and other competitors to bring this new architecture. And so many I think, are sitting out saying, why spend 43 grand when if I just set it out till maybe like February or March, and the new 2024 touring models come in, and it's the same bike, but it just doesn't have all the aesthetics and doesn't have the 121 motor, but in so many aspects it's a new bike, but I saved myself 10 grand. I mean, I think that's what's going on. I really think that a lot of people are probably like, anymore, I'll take the 117 motor. I mean, all sincereness, the odds are the new 2024 higher end motorcycle will have this 117 motor, which is a great motor. And I'm with you. I mean, all sincereness, I think you're better off waiting. But what if that doesn't play out? If that doesn't play out, then the demand for these all of a sudden start to get a lot more demand. Because right now there's a lot of those CVOs sitting out in the market. I just don't understand what Harley's doing. And is it because the consumer's demand is wavering? I mean, there's a lot of variables going on. Here's the pups. Here's the office. Here's the keyfer. I need to clean it up and all day long. I'm just in this office in the morning for a few hours, then I'm gone. I do not sit in an office all day. No, thank you. I can't do that. I got to be outside working. That's why very young in my life, I got going, and I truly wanted to be outside more than inside. And thank God I accomplished that. Oh, yeah. So the demands, for me, we're living in demanding times as well. I mean, I think that subconsciously, we're not even aware of the demands that are upon us, but also just the demand of what we witnessed for the last, basically when the pandemic came in. It's just incredible what I witnessed of people wanting all these toys, all these cars, all these motorcycles, all these boats, all these RVs. It was beyond believable. And most people, when the pandemic started, I think would have all said there's no way everybody's going to get scared, there's going to hold their money, and people aren't going to be out and about doing things. They're scared, the unknowns, the fear factor. So here we are. We have witnessed the most incredible, demanding times ever in our lifetime. For me, of witnessing people that are demanding to have things as fast as possible and paying at whatever cost to get what they want. We know that. Everybody here that's watching the channel and that's why these car prices, like that Ford Bronco out there, it's hard to believe. That was a build vehicle of in the $70,000 range, which is now a build vehicle of $90,000 range. I mean, beyond believable. I mean, it's just incredible on how much on the car side, how like poof, overnight, these car prices have gone through the roof because the so-called demand. And in the pandemic, car sales, tactics are really done. I mean, as far as like the pandemic, be so lucky to get a car, you're going to pay whatever we really feel like we can get out of you and suck it up buttercup. Well, those days are done. And the reason I say that is because if you just look at that Ford Mustang Mach-E GT, the first one I bought was the Rapid Blue, whatever they call that, Grabber Blue. That was my first one I bought like in January of 2022. And when I bought that car, I was be so lucky to get one, and Coonstown Ford wanted $10K over. Yeah, was I the fool to pay it? Yeah, I was a fool to pay it. So I got that, but at that time, I was more on the page that this is such a highly sought after, strong, demand vehicle because the gas prices were very high. And every time I got this car in, it was gone. So Coonstown Ford, my general manager, sales guy, John, who's now at Tedford Ford, he was like, hey, man, I mean, I'd love to give this car a deal, but the bottom line is the next guy behind you wants it for 10 grand over. So here you go. So I bought that. And luckily enough, last summer, I got rid of that, and I didn't take a real big hit on that car because the market hadn't turned yet. So our car was within reason of getting out of it what I borderline paid for it, except the 10K ADM. If I paid MSRP, I got out of it exactly what I put into it. So, but here we are now, a year, we're a year and a half later in some aspects. But if you go over a year ago, you looked at the Mach-E Mustang GT or just the Mustang electric vehicle inventory, and you'd be lucky to find 30, 40, 50 of these vehicles. Today, there's 533 Mustang Mach-E's in a 50-mile radius. Now, some be like, yeah, well, there's a lot of car dealers out there and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but you're talking a little over a year later, and it's 10 times the inventory. And those numbers are staying pretty consistent because I've been telling you about this. In comparison, the Ford Mustang, the gas version, there's 233 in a 50-mile radius. You got a 100-mile radius, and you're up to like 600 Mach-E Mustangs, over 600, like 622. So the demand isn't there. The demand, Jim Farley, this guy's starting to get an attitude. This guy, Sean Fain's really starting to irritate the hell out of him. There was just a little interview with him here like yesterday, and there we go. Here's a demand. What is the UAW doing? They're demanding a better work environment, better pay raise, better benefits, better workday week, better job security for the future. And so it's pretty classic. Jim Farley, just a little bit of what I saw. I didn't watch much of it. But he's saying, hey, this guy, Sean Fain, he's like Jake, he's like the State Farm guy, Jake. You see this guy, you see this guy more than you see Jake from State Farm now running his mouth. And what Jim Farley's saying is this guy is not giving correct information. We are not laying people off. We're not going to start getting rid of people in this electric transition. All right, we'll put it in writing to Sean Fay then, Jim Boy. I guess he'll shut up, right? I don't know. So he's really getting irritated. This guy that just is now really creating the beginning havoc of the automotive industry because of people. Right now, there's apparently 25,000 people at the UAW that walked off the job. Apparently, GM, I don't know if it's between GM and Ford, but right now they've laid off 6,000 people. Another 500 people have been laid off. This is separate from union people. These are just regular non-union people. So non-union people now are starting to be affected by the UAW because they're demanding, and what the big three things, as everybody here knows, is very unrealistic demands. That's the challenge. So back to the demands of the electric vehicles, the Ford F-150 Lightning truck, there's over 100 of those in the marketplace right now for sale in a 50-mile radius. You would have gone to that a year ago. I can already tell you, a year ago, you'd have been lucky to find 20, 30, maybe. And they'd all be at high ADM of 10 grand, plus over. Now they're selling these things at MSRP. They don't have a lot of room to discount them because there's just no money in that until Ford gives them the go-ahead to give them big rebates. So there just isn't really a negotiation on electric F-150 trucks. They're extremely expensive. So the demand for electric vehicles seems to be, waning. Even over in England, there's now conversations that these deadlines of getting rid of the fossil fuel and the ICE vehicles are now starting to pull back and say that they need to reevaluate all this and not maybe be going as quickly as they are. Volkswagen has just announced that their big plans in Germany to build another major factory to accommodate the EV vehicles, they now have just raised their hands and say we're not going to do that. They're already seeing that the demand for these electric vehicles isn't happening like they thought. So here we are. We're really in a very quick time frame, short time frame of the electric vehicles that have just now started to really kind of become stateside here and more domestic than the Tesla product. In the big three bringing things per se, it's more about Ford and Tesla, really. GM, yeah, somewhat, but the whole point is they're starting to see that this consumer isn't really wanting this product as much as they think that the green agenda wants everybody to think. The sitting administration wants to think. If you think about the sitting administration that we have today, you have to start to come to really closure that this is a very demanding administration. This administration is putting a lot of demands on this country never seen in modern times. So what I mean by that is the Inflation Reduction Act is a demanding, basically, aka New Green Deal, that's demanding that big business and small business all start transitioning sooner than later at a much faster pace to this green agenda, which is very expensive. The administration, so many ways, is putting in incredible demands on the U.S. citizens, taxpayers, responsibilities of having to take care of others' countries' problems. More than ever, I think that right now we're in a war with Russia, and we are meeting the demands of Ukraine to give them money to fight a Russian war. That I'm sure many think that if a different person to be was in power, there wouldn't even this war wouldn't even be going on. It'd be a different whole ball game. But it's putting the demand on the country's infrastructure and the tax burdens at the U.S. citizen. And you look at the immigration. Immigration has been an ongoing problem. It's not really anything per se that's immediately resolved with a perfect answer. But at the same time, we're witnessing how New York City, Eric Adams, his administration is now raising their hand and saying that the demands of these legal immigrants coming to his city, it's overwhelming of the financial demands and the capacity for the city to handle these people. So, and then this administration, in some ways, was demanding to restructure how police operate, how law enforcement operates, how district attorneys prosecute people, how in California, apparently today in California, the cash bail things being basically eliminated for the soft crimes, so people won't have to go to jail and have to post bail. So this administration is putting incredible demand on the infrastructure of the LEO, law enforcement community, because if you're a law enforcement officer and you know you go run down that person stealing or doing very low, borderline criminal activity, for you as a police officer to take this person to court and to try to prosecute him, you don't have that same strength and backing that you did some years ago. So it really puts you as an officer as what do you want to deal with? What do you pick and choose on what makes it to you meet your credential as a law enforcement officer, doing your duties and responsibilities for the community that you serve, and where's the fine line that what makes sense of what you're spending your time to do versus you're just chasing the riffraff, and the riffraff will just win out at the end of the day because of the new demands by these district attorneys and city politicians that have raised the limits on what is a crime and a punishable crime. I mean, just really bad. So there is a demand for you as an individual that's trying to serve your community and help others. The demands by this administration on the college tuitions. I think this is really just something that needs to be talked about in a much more broader depth that people just don't want to talk about. Why is the demands of this college unhappiness of people buying their college and financing it, that they're so unhappy they want to waive the debt and the taxpayers are going to pay for that? Wouldn't it seem that the demand would be that these individuals and these politicians would get a force that would go after the financial institutions and the colleges that sold these education programs to these people, that they weren't happy? So wouldn't it make more sense to demand that these financial institutions waive the debts and they take the hits, that the colleges reimburse the financial institutions for the unhappiness of these individuals? And once again, I think that you build a program where you go to this person named Bob and say, or Jan, or whatever the name, Karen, or whatever the name it may be, and say, okay, so you're now a doctor. I don't think that's a person crying the blues about paying their debt back, but let's just say they put this in a category of, hey, if you're making, $100,000 a year and you're crying about your college debt, you don't qualify. If you're making $30,000 a year, then yeah, we need to sit down and talk about what you thought you'd get and you wouldn't. Okay, that kind of gets too deep and heavy there. So, but here's the thing. Demands by this sitting administration is what I talk about all the time. It's to bring the end of the ice age. It's to bring the end of the internal combustion engine age that we all just truly love and we all feel strongly that isn't necessarily all the Mother Nature's world's problem. And we all feel that a more moderate balancing act of having both alternatives is probably a better way to address the challenges on a long-term basis of the transition of transportation, and not a radical movement that has to be like poof, resolved in 10 or 15 years, that they're putting these radical time frames on. So yes, this administration's underlying message is a demand that you go out and buy an electric vehicle. The underlying message of this administration is they demand that you get rid of your gas stove. The underlying message of this administration is maybe you need to change out your air conditioning and heating source because you're doing harm to Mother Nature. I mean, and then here's the other thing. This administration supports and demanding so many ways that anybody gets to walk in a bathroom. This administration, in so many ways, wants you and I to feel like the public school system can teach your kid, whether he's in kindergarten or in a high school student, the facts of life, the birds and the bees. I mean, they're distributing books and stuff that go into great detail of what people's sexual flavors are for young children. It's just beyond believable. But these are the demands that this administration supports. They're demanding that you change your views on how you look at what makes sense and doesn't make sense. And that's the challenge. More than ever, I think, more than ever. And then you, in so many ways, can be called out for the way you feel like these demands aren't right and you don't like them. But then you all of a sudden are the problem. Wow, what's the demand right now for the housing industry? You're hearing that the demand for the housing industry is still in some ways good, but in some ways it's not. What's the demand for the car market? I mean, it's just on one foot you feel like the market's going to crash. On the other foot, you still see people out there demanding to buy whatever they want to buy, and that's a whole other thing I talked about yesterday. Is that the younger generation is on the path, and I shouldn't even say the younger generation, but it seems like with the economy, the Fed, there's a whole other article about the Fed may have to give us another half point on this interest rate. We're like at 5.19 right now, apparently on the Fed side. So they may have to take it up to 5.5 points because in their eyes, the inflation challenge just isn't moving quickly enough, and people are still out there just buying too much stuff. And I don't know. I talked to the Harley dealer guy yesterday. He said it's slow, and he's a new guy. The sales guy's dealing with, he's a new guy. That's what I'm witnessing. A lot of these Harley dealers I go to, a lot of these dealerships, it's a lot of new faces. Well, what does that tell you? It tells you the old faces saw the painting on the wall, and they've moved on to greener pastures in their eyes as they see the challenge of what is to lie ahead that's starting to happen. And so for them, I guess in so many ways, their position is, hey, the demand of what I've been selling and doing, it just isn't there anymore. And I need to find a more demanding job. Who doesn't know that story? Who hasn't been around long enough where you work for somebody or doing something and you just kind of see how the demand slows down and you just start scratching your head. It's like, well, how long is this going to last? How long am I going to be continually employed when the demand of things is kind of, not what it used to be? The paint on the wall, and the odds are you're going to be demanded to walk out the front door and you no longer have a job. Who hasn't heard these stories? But at the same time, economy, employment's still good. But here's another angle from the pandemic that's still playing out, and that's the demand for office space in buildings where so many individuals are demanding the right to be able to work remotely from home, and it's pretty strong. And sure, there's variables of people going a few days a week, but at the same time, the demand for this office space isn't happening. So these big landlords of all these office buildings, they're in very challenging times. How much longer can they continue to hold on to these buildings that are empty? I mean, how much longer does that last? And you just wonder. I mean, the continued government assistance and this and that. But here's another thing. This is the first official month per se, and it's all debatable, but the college tuition payments are back on the table. It's been now close to 3 years since people that have college loans have had to pay their bill. So there's a lot of speculation that's going to have some impact on the economy. The government-assisted child care is now off the table, supposedly. So there's a few things going on that the demands of people were asking for assistance during the pandemic. Those demands have been met, but now they've expired. So for us, are we going to start to witness the reality? I mean, is the fake economy, that's what I called it so many times throughout the whole pandemic, is the fake economy really now going to start to show the true colors? Are we now going to witness? And that's what I thought about really this morning was, if anybody here has been around long enough, you like the supply and demand of the natural, just the natural way things kind of play out. And in the car market, what's always been pretty cool is if you're patient and you sit in the sidelines, you'll see the demand for these so-called very expensive cars, that starts to waver and go away, and then you get the deal on a really nice car. I mean, for years, I wanted the brand new Z06, the C6 Z06. I wanted one of those so bad. I had the C5s, I wanted the C6, redesigned, really nice. And I waited and I waited and I waited. And it really was 2 years. It was 2 years before I finally got the Z06 for like $8,000 off. That was back in 2007. It was actually 2008. It was actually 2008. It was like January, February 2008. I finally got my Z06 silver one after waiting like a good 2+ years for the market to tame down to those, and I get a nice discount. And that's what I'm sure so many people are so aggravated about, is in some ways, a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines hoping that the demand stops and these discounts come back in these vehicles. But at the same time, the manufacturers have raised the price of these vehicles so high. Even if you go want to buy a brand new Ford F-150 Power Boost that's $84,000, they take $10,000 off, it's still $74,000. If they take $15,000 off, all right, you're at 69. I mean, you take 20 grand after you're 64. So yeah. So is Ford going to start taking 20 grand off of their new vehicles? I can't see that. I mean, but I do know back in the days, back in the heydays, you could get 10, 15 grand off these trucks. They're very expensive. So, but once again, they've raised the price of these vehicles so much. Where's the breaking limit? Where's the demand? And once again, I think so many people are sitting back going, when does my time come to get the deal on these cars? And especially the cars that in so many ways you have to think the repossessions of these overpriced cars and overextended financial commitments for people starts to play out. It's still early in the game. Is 2024 going to be the year of the deals? Is 2024 going to be the year of showing really that the financial demands of so many has finally come to a halting stop that gives back to the average guy that he can actually afford to buy something because everything's so damn expensive? I mean, oh my gosh. So under this administration, the subconscious message, unbeknownst to most people, is you have a very demanding administration that is creating a lot of, in so many ways, financial havoc. It's just creating social havoc. I mean, there's so many things. There's a guy here posting on X, hey, ever since they got rid of the police in Philadelphia, the crime rate is 18% down. Do you believe that? It's like, no, you moron. You're a freaking moron. They're not turning people in. The police aren't, I just talked about it. The police have to pick and choose now who they go and turn in and chase that's back on the street tomorrow. I mean, what an idiot. It's because they're not catching the criminals anymore. They don't have the capability to prosecute them. I mean, good Lord, how stupid are you? I mean, sincerely, but that's where we live. That's how people operate and think. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, the demand, how demanding. And so here's another whole variable for JP Morgan Chase. They're saying the big wig guy, what's the guy's name? I can't even think of the damn guy's name. But he's saying that with this artificial intelligence, that the demand of your job is going to be less. He's saying that the 3.1, here's a banker, right? 3.1 workday week is where it's all going because of the artificial intelligence, the chat GPT, the generative pre-trained transformer, the open AI, whatever you want to call it. The computer is going to do your job for you. So you'll be so much more efficient that now you don't need to work 5 days a week. You need to work 3.1 days a week. And I think, yeah, but really where that's all going is you're not going to be working at all because this chat GPT is going to take your freaking job. When the big guy realizes that you don't have to do much of anything, and the big guy figures out that you yourself can manage 10 jobs with 10 chat GPT guys, where's the other 9 people going as you keep the one job? I mean, come on. Oh, my gosh. The incompetence beyond incompetence of where we are going in society. And this administration, I think, more than ever, is helping it become bigger. Yeah, wow. The next year will be the election year. And oh, my gosh. Wow. I think we're going to see stuff we've never seen before. Hope I'm wrong. Hey, I hope I'm wrong. But hey, anyways, the demands. The demands, I think many here probably would have to say the demands have to change. Yes, us Ice Age people need to demand that this green agenda stuff stops. It has to stop. It's ridiculous. It's expensive. And it needs to be handled in a different way. And this Russia-Ukraine war, what a joke. Russia is selling oil at record pace to India at $4 below the Brent market of oil. They were supposed to be capped, I thought. Where's all these sanctions on Russia? Russia and China are buddies. Do you know that? Russia and China are becoming really good friends. Hey, this is great. This guy Zelensky, I personally think the guy's a moron. I'm sure some people argue with my position on that. I think the guy's a moron, personally. I think the guy's self-centered and rich himself. And I don't know. It gets heavy and deep. But all I know is, it seems to me, Russia's, it gets heavy and deep. I don't know. Anybody out there that has great link detail of how Russia is going to be overtaken by Ukraine, let me know. You got China, it's their buddy now. You got Korea, it's their buddy. You got Venezuela as your buddy. I mean, you got a ton of other nations that are on Russia's side. It isn't that easy. It's called a world war. Has anybody figured that out? All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching my channel. Appreciate all nice comments. What am I doing today? Oh, golly, you got projects, tasks. Do I get a phone call? Do I get a phone call from Patriot Harley saying, hey, we got the package put together for you to come get your black Tri-Glide with your black RG3, your black trike. Yeah, wow. Oh, another thing is, a lot of people are reaching out, oh, these things are dangerous, this and that. No, those trikes, believe it or not, per the Laidlaw guy, Laidlaw Harley Davidson, on a YouTube video, he claims that the 2019 trikes were all updated with all this rider technology. The automatic helps slow down the vehicle in corners, anti-tipping over, anti-locking up, the torque control, all this technology that was put in these trikes before the 2020 Harley-Davidson motorcycles. So riders assist basically and how it helps keep your motorcycle safer in the rain and in the corners. The motorcycle overtakes in some ways, starts braking the vehicle and keeps you from hopefully not going down. But the trikes had that technology put in them before the actual 2020 motorcycles did. So these trikes have a lot of technology in these things to try to help them be safe. Because a lot of people are like, oh, you ride a trike. And I don't disagree. You lock that thing up, you're going to roll it and flip it. But apparently this new technology in some ways overtakes all that, and hopefully that doesn't play out. So anyways, just information, tons of information. So once again, thanks for everybody watching my channel. I get demands. I got a demanding schedule today to do a ton of things. Let me go do that. But does it turn into me having a demanding schedule to drop everything and go get the trike? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you never know, right? So hey, stay tuned. Have a great day. God bless. Stay safe. I gotta go to work.